Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to have an interesting subject. It'll be mainly about preaching and a few things within our script. I have spoken about several different things, and I have made tapes of a few items, and everyone were, of course, non-scripted, and they are the first edition, meaning they all need a little bit more explanation, or they deserve more explanation. Now, I will be doing a few more as I go on, a few more videos, and I'll try to highlight the most important things. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is preaching God. That's an interesting thing. We have a lot of preachers. Everyone preaches. But I believe that to really be able to truly to be able to preach about our God, you have to sort of know who our God is. Now, that part is very difficult to know who our God is. I give you an example. If a person was preaching about something, they only have a perception or an idea, then they're not able really to give you more than that. Or should I say, it'll always be less than the what is the total, never the total amount they are able to offer. Now, I don't want to be critical or anything on any of the one who's trying their best, of course, but I want to show the significance and the importance of how important it is that someone actually knows who our God is in order to actually preach it. Now, to give you an example, it would be like having a car with an owner's manual with only parts list. Now you have to assemble it. It doesn't really tell you where anything goes. It just gives you a list of parts. Now with this list of parts, you're supposed to figure out how to put everything together. You don't really know what it makes. But here are the part list. And you're supposed to put it together. Now I can see that that's not going to be easy for anyone, no matter who it is. So I can see the enormous difficulty that most of the preachers have. But at the end is that I find that a lot of them are agenda driven or pro something or another. And this also leads them somewhat astray and to actually coming to do the actual, I don't know if I want to say the job, but getting to the point. That might not always be so because they're not aware what the point is. So therefore, it'll always miss the point. Now, what I want to also touch on, because I'm mentioning about preaching, for one example, John the Baptist. I wanted to bring up John the Baptist because John the Baptist is the Baptist, or should I say, he owns baptism. It isn't something that is owned by Jesus, meaning Jesus does not own baptism. Baptism is a property of John the Baptist. You see, when John the Baptist was baptizing people, Jesus' very own disciple complained that there's somebody doing something like we are. As soon as Jesus heard that, he said, let them. And he went to John the Baptist and endorsed it. That's what Jesus did. Jesus endorsed John the Baptist baptism. So baptism is the property of John the Baptist, not Jesus. Just because he endorsed it does not rightfully become his ownership. The ownership belongs to John the Baptist, and I notice that the Christians are forgetting that. One of the things that I want to explain about baptism, which again the Christian, or mainly the Catholic, are very big at that, or just about all of them really, is that they baptize children. Now, of course, I'm not going to say anything that it's wrong to baptize a child, but the whole idea of baptism, it becomes sort of a sham when you baptize a child. Because the baptism, the ritual itself, is only a ritual. The baptism itself. But the meaning behind it, that is the more important part than the ritual. Now, see, to baptize a child is fine. There's nothing wrong in that generally, to go through the ritual. But the problem is that the ritual was not meant for a child, though. That's the sad part. So when John the Baptist brought that out, he really never meant to baptize actually children. This baptism is for someone that is of rightful age. I mean, of the majority, whatever that is. You have to be a minimum of rightful of majority, the age of majority, to be baptized. And I'll explain why. Because baptism is for the purpose of someone that is sinning that will now stop or has ended, come to terms of sinning, and will start their life new. So in order to be baptized, first of all, you have to sin. Why? Well, that's part of the rules. Why? You have to be a sinner. Then, when you are a sinner, rightful age, when you can make that decision, you decide to stop or whatever, you decide to end that way. Then is the ritual of that, the meaning you're starting a new beginning. That's why it's called born again. So when we baptize a child, the problem is that when we baptize a child, there's two problems. One of them is the child has yet not sinned. And the other one, you need consent, and children are unable to give consent. That's why you have to be of rightful age. When you baptize, that's a consent you have to give. It means but you have to hold it. Otherwise, why? If you break it, then of course it's valueless. So it's a very serious ritual, actually, baptism, which the Christians are taking out of context and rather making a joke of it, because the ritual is actually a very serious ritual. It's not a joke. And you can't baptize a child and think you have somehow they are saved. That's not how it works. Although it's nice and nothing wrong with it to baptize a child, of course, it's nothing wrong. It's a good gesture, but in actuality, that's not how it works. First, you have to be of rightful age. First, let me start. First, you have to be a sinner. Second, you have to be of rightful age. And thirdly, it must be your consent. So, a child cannot be baptized because first, they haven't had the time to sin. And second, they are not rightful age. And thirdly, they are not able to consent. So therefore, you cannot really baptize someone anonymously without their knowledge. That's sort of, it doesn't work like that. It would be nice that I could say, oh, I just from touching you, you'll be fine. Well, that's not how it works. Okay, you have to actually, in order to make sure the person is fine, you have to protect them or whatever. There's some effort required. with that. But anyway, that's one of the things I wanted to clear up, that a lot of the preachers, or majority of the preachers actually, they preach John the Baptist and giving the credit to someone else than John the Baptist himself. So I wanted to make that clear. I'm sure Jesus wanted to do that too, because I'm sure Jesus is not a credit thief, and he doesn't need to steal John the Baptist's baptisms as ritual in order to gain status, which he already has. Okay, so what I would like to do is rightfully return baptism back to John the Baptist, who's actually the owner of it, okay? In case somebody did not know. Another thing I wanted to touch bases on, Jesus was very big on forgiving. Preachers are preaching, all kinds of preachers. I've been listening to them. It's forgiving. Yeah, forgiving is a good thing, because no matter who it is, all the wise who came along, they all had the same opinion, that forgiveness, or one of the people I quote from a famous person, he said this: the weak cannot forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Now, Jesus was forgiving, and he told us to forgive. That's a good thing to do, no matter what. Even for no reason, it's a good thing to do. But there's, though, a condition to that. Even though this famous slogan or writing from others, it lacks the final substance, which Jesus himself actually did offer it when he forgave Mary Magdalene. If we go back momentarily, when they brought Mary Magdalene to Jesus and accused her of adultery, and that the wages of sin is death, they asked Jesus, what about in her case? Well, Jesus forgave Mary Magdalene. It's very well written in script. But there was something else that was also written in script that all the preachers and all the Christians and everyone is forgetting. But I like to point it strongly out, that Jesus even made this clear within. He said this to Mary Magdalene: I forgive you, and go do no more. So basically, Jesus not only forgave Mary Magdalene, but he put a condition to Mary Magdalene, and the condition was that to do no more. So in simple fact, that Jesus didn't just forgive, like every preacher is trying to tell you. Oh no, he didn't just forgive, because Jesus is much wiser than that, by far. So in order to forgive without condition is most foolish. Why? This is a recipe for facilitating and fostering sinning. If you do not put a condition when you forgive a person, then it will allow them to simply carry on and continue sinning. So therefore, when Jesus forgave Mary Magdalene, he specifically specified this: go do no more. That was part of the condition of him forgiving Mary Magdalene. So Jesus was not just a fool. He didn't simply just forgive and just that was it. No. He put a condition in. And every preacher that I have come across, every Christian that I've come to know, they don't seem to know that Jesus put a condition in it. Why? Because every one of them is slightly overlooking it. Overlooking the condition that Jesus put in for Mary Magdalene to do no more. Yes, every preacher out there that I see, every Christian is doing that, simply leaving out the condition that Jesus put in while he forgave Mary Magdalene. So I'd like to set the record straight. In order to forgive, without condition is most foolish. Okay? So forgive, but make sure you place condition within that forgiveness. And one of the minimal condition is required is this: do no more. Okay? Those are the condition. Now, I wish preachers would highlight that particular part of forgiving, but you'll see that none of them will. Why not? Because that is the most difficult part. Forgiving is easy, but placing the condition in, that is the difficult part. Okay? Now, don't forget that, and hopefully you'll not forgive someone without actually putting a condition in that they do no more. Otherwise, they will just continue sinning, and that is simply a recipe to sinning without placing a condition. I stress this seriously. Okay? Now, one of the things I wanted to also pick on is about when they preach. The definition of several things seems to be problematic. One of the definition is the Son of God, Satan, and Lucifer. Now, these definitions have been taken so much out of context today that actually not a single person out there even really knows what that means. Interesting. Not a single person knows what it means? No. That's sad. Very sad. They're preaching all these words, but they don't actually know what it means. So that's not a good thing, what's happening around the world. I see it worldwide everywhere. They're preaching something that they have no idea what it means. Interesting. And then they're spinning their definition and idea on it, rather than coming clean and saying that they don't really know what it means. That would be fair, wouldn't it? But no, they're not that honest. They're going to pretend as if they know what it means and then try to convey to you what it should mean. Interesting. Okay, and if you take a look, a lot of the times is what they do is that they take the biblical text and they go through a whole bunch of verses and try to find something that matches to their viewpoint. Wow. So basically they're stitching it from left and right to make things up as they're in their illusion. But nowhere they can find anything that is in one set of writing to make the claims that they preach. No, they have to go back and forth here, there, set it all together, and to come up with some type of a cocktail for us to feed to us. That's about it. So basically, they're offering nothing new. It's everything is written. You can go read it. Anyone can read it. And then, if you want, you can go back and forth in script and mix it up yourself a little bit and create your own cocktail and see what comes out of it. But really, that's not what the Bible was meant for. That you go around and put all these things together yourself like it was a puzzle. No, that's not what it is. Now, a lot of the things also that people don't understand, I can tell you a lot about it, but anyway, that's what the preachers are doing right now. They really have nothing of their own. They're reading stuff in a book, and now they go around and stitch a few things together to give us something. But if you take a look, I will not have the Bibles, but I will quote maybe sometimes or refer to it for the fact, just to give examples and stuff like that. Because a true preacher of our God really wouldn't require a Bible. Why? If we take a look, no matter who it was, even Jesus, I don't remember him holding actually a Bible. No, why not? Because he read it, first of all, so he knows it. It's all up here. So he didn't really actually have to hold it. So, and the other thing is that what Jesus also did when he was bringing things out, he not only didn't have a Bible, but he brought things that the old Bible didn't have. Wow. He brought more. Now, if you take a look at today's preachers, or even the ones in the past, right, since the last one that brought anything, which was Jesus. Now, what a good preacher will be able to do is bring you something. What does that mean? Add a little bit to it. And then what Jesus brought. That means that they have advanced. But if they cannot really add a little bit to it, simply just go through what has been said, add stitch from here and there, mix it up and make some type of cocktails out of it. Okay, That's not really doing anything that has not already been or has existed. And anyway, that's one of the things I want to do. I bring is the definition of many things. Now, I will not give you a definition of each individual one of them today, but because each one of them requires an entire session to explain what it means actually. So I will just go quickly through to show you that what the preachers are doing today. They're preaching things that they have no idea what the definition are or the meaning or what it is, and simply making up some sort of imagination. But anyway, another thing that I wanted to talk about is heaven. Just briefly. Why? Because itself requires an entire episode for it, just because the subject itself is so lengthy to come to understand the definition. Now, one of the things I want to speak about heaven is on purpose, because everybody wants to, of course, go to heaven. There's no doubt, and I hope everybody does, because it's a wonderful place. But heaven is not only really a place, but a state as well. So in simplicity, what I'm trying to say is that heaven is probably not quite totally understood the definition, and a lot of people, they try to wait and die to go to heaven. Well, I say this: nobody has to wait and die to go to heaven. Anyone can go to heaven while in the state of it while they're alive. So if you want to go to heaven, you can do that right now. Every one of us. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, and it can go to heaven. And that simply is in the state of it. So heaven is a duality. It is not only a place, but a state too. So one of the most important thing I want to also explain is that, again, adding a little bit to John the Baptist, is that is born again. Part of that born again is that state which I call heaven. This is when you truly are born again, that you have then or have entered into heaven without actually dying. So now the definition of heaven is not entirely being explained, because heaven is a duality, where it is both a state and a place. So you don't have to wait till you go to go to the place of heaven, because you can be in the state of heaven right here as we are alive. And this is the concept that I want to offer to everyone, that no need to wait to die to go to heaven. Everybody says, are you going to go to heaven or are you not going to heaven? Well, that's easy. If you're in the state of heaven, I guarantee you will go to heaven. Okay? So that's very easy. If you want to guarantee yourself or everyone that want to make sure that you're going to end up in heaven, then I strongly suggest this, that you come into the state of it, so that it guarantees you such in the place. Okay? So you don't have to pray to anyone to hope whether you can go to heaven. This is a choice that each one of us can make ourselves. I mean, if you want to go to heaven, you don't have to die and you don't have to wait. You can do this anytime, whenever you like. You simply have to be in the state of it, okay? So one of the things to come into state would be helpful is that you're born again, okay? So this is in addition to John the Baptist. And another thing is that when you're in the state of heaven, definitely the kingdom of God has arrived. This is how the kingdom of God will arrive, when each one of us don't wait till we die to go to heaven, but simply get to the state immediately, so that we're in heaven now, not when we die. But when we're in heaven now, this is definitely a guarantee that we will be also in heaven when we die. So that's a guarantee. So if anybody want to make sure that they end up in heaven, then I strongly suggest that you're in the state of such while you are alive. So don't wait to go to heaven or to get to that place. I suggest you immediately start right now. Okay? I wish you well. But anyway, that's one of the things is that I I could I have to say that if I'm not close to it, I'm definitely very close. I feel like I'm in heaven, so I don't have to die, as I'm already there, and that's what makes me happy. So I want to do the same for you guys. What? That you don't have to wait or pray and hope that you go to heaven. I say no. You can guarantee and assure it by simply being in that state currently, right now, as you are. So don't wait, okay? Wonderful. Now, I touched on most of the little things that I wanted to talk about today, and I didn't have much of a subject, but I wanted to touch on preaching the Word of God and a lot of the definition that they are today preaching, which is somewhat absurd to what their definition is, or how they are leading the general public with it. So hopefully I could clear a little bit up and return the ownership of baptism back to John the Baptist. I'm sure Jesus and John the Baptist are very happy with that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And I hopefully have another subject for next time. And have a nice day. Thanks a lot, everyone.